EatLocalMinnesota.com for your next meal. Crooner Supper Club invites you to Maggie's Lounge, an exciting new bar lounge. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays beginning at 4:30 for cocktails and light fare. And you don't need a ticket to enjoy the great atmosphere of Maggie's. So stop by Crooner Supper Club off Moore Lake and Highway 65 for dinner, drinks, and live music from both big-name local and national artists. Cafe Latte combines a cafe dining experience with gourmet quality food. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Minnesota's program for news, information, and perspective at the intersection of mobility and technology. It's the Tech Mobility Show. I'm Ken Chester, your host. I cover evolving mobility and technology trends and topics in a way that's easy to understand. Things are changing fast, and it's easy to get lost in the flow. By tuning into the Tech Mobility Show, you can stay informed about the latest happenings with electric vehicles, personal privacy issues, climate change, and more. That's the Tech Mobility Show every Saturday from 9 to 10 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Only if you dare.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 33, then Wednesday, sunshine with a high of 56. The music is still the hottest at Crooner's Supper Club in Fridley. Crooner's is located just north of I-694 off Highway 65 and Moore Lake Drive. View their upcoming music schedules and food menus at croonersloungemn.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You are right, Daga. This portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon, supporting Native news and events from Natives themselves. Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon.
Hey, I'm like a broken clock. I'm right twice a day, and it's good. It's good. I just got to keep on touch of that. Hey, good news. St. Paul Pioneer Press put out an article that they will never go down to Wakan TP, the area again, and it'll never happen again. And so good things are coming out. And I know Maggie Lorenz put out a press release today, I believe, this morning, and there's some really good stuff on that. I'm kind of looking for it right now. But before I get too far into that, I want to say, hey, we got Leya coming back on today, and Leya Hale, and she's with PBS Twin Cities producer and has the movie out that with our friend Henry Boucher. And then we're going to be talking to Norma Flying Horse, and she's a award-winning designer, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that are going on in the field of design. And we always have a problem with design. Design sometimes means appropriation. Design, there's every year you can go to some place like Target and find a really cool designed native stolen, and they say native inspired, but native stolen designs. And we ran into a lot of that at the fair too, the Minnesota State Fair. And I think anywhere where you get any kind of artists out there or art fair, there is some appropriation. I remember there was a person who I really liked, and she had butterflies out there at the state fair, and but she also had a couple dream catchers, and that's Ishinabe. That's things that they put up by their bed to catch dreams and bad dreams. And it's funny, you see people put them in their car and put them everywhere, and it's just like, are you dreaming and driving at the same time? So right. So one of the good things about the show is we try to talk to our listeners that don't know and trying to educate them. And the things like dream catchers have become really pan native, and they really have deep roots in the Ojibwe people. And it's crazy how that happens. And I don't know, we're pretty excited today. What's the name of the movie again? The documentary about Henry Boucher. And it's a really bummer because I'm going to be in Madison, so I can't go, but I'm going to try and get a screener and get to see that documentary on Henry.
Yeah. Well, so Leya Hale, it's her documentary. And this is called The Electric Indian, and it'll be showing here in Minneapolis tomorrow night.
And are you going, Haley?
I am. I am. I already got my tickets. I'm excited. Hoping Dr. Stately saves me a seat, front row.
There you go. There you go. Well, good luck with that.
I know, right?
But I'm sure, well, his sons are in it and he's excited. I saw one of the promo pictures, and it had Henry standing in the middle of the ice, and it looked like two young natives were skating around him. And I imagine that is Dr. Stately's sons whipping by him.
I know. How cool is that?
Yeah, really cool. And I know he's really excited, and we're really excited too. And it's such a balancing act. We have a Native American filmmaker doing a story on a Native American, and that's what we like. And then what we're going to be talking about a little later is things that we don't like, and appropriation. And I always have to say too, when we get to this interview, Haley, that Custer, General Custer he had Native scouts. So hey, we got to be careful out there who's representing us and who's speaking for us. Because I know when Ho-Chunks were signing treaties, there's a story where they sent people to Washington finally to sign the treaty in the 1800s when they were trying to remove them from Wisconsin and slowly remove them. But they finally sent people from the tribe, the Ho-Chunk tribe, that were in the wrong clan. They didn't make these decisions. So it was funny. They sent them on purpose because whatever papers they were trying to force them to sign would not be legal or looked upon to the Ho-Chunk people. So I think that's kind of funny that kind of thinking was going on even back then.
Exactly. Right. And I think, it's more than just fashion and in clothing pieces too. I've been to places where I've seen, like you said, dream catchers, and, just made of plastic and very cheap materials that are not sacred and don't hold meaning to us as Native people. So I'm not sure how well those work, but I seen a lot of over the summer was people selling wild rice
Mm.
by the bags. And I would ask them, I would say, hey, where do you guys get your wild rice from? Like, I want to know where this comes from. Who do you buy it from? And they could never tell me.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that they were non-native people.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you, if you go on to that Amazon, they got Minnesota wild rice, and you don't know where they're selling it there, and you don't know who's selling it and what's selling it, and we did hear about that, a few things about farms up there hidden up there growing it, and I don't know, was it the university was helping with them, and it's so there's all this weird, bizarre things where they're trying to help, but they're not really helping.
Yeah, more so like endangering the crop itself and the species and its original DNA of the plant. So not good at all.
Right. And I don't know if you remember this at all, but I mean, for years we're always talking about GMO, and the farmers that were fighting that years ago to put up like GMO corn were getting fined when they put their own seeds out there and that weren't GMO. And so this has been going on. Things like this have been going on. The battle. I mean, you look at native corn. It's purple. It's red. It's polka dots. It's not the bright yellow, non-healthy food.
I know. And that's funny you bring the corn up too, because I was out at a local, we could say pumpkin patch around my area here. And so they had a sign saying Indian corn.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Yeah. There's a lot of different colors of corn. So I would, look into that. It's cool. Anyways, are you going to be back in town from Madison this weekend, Digga?
Yes. Friday we'll be doing a reunion show, not together, but I'll be, I guess, in the cities Friday. So I'll be back late Thursday.
Awesome.
But, I'll be doing the show from Madison, Wisconsin live, and we tested that out. So all else fails, something doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, there's the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, and Sioux communities winter Wachipi winter powwow is happening this weekend.
It's always a good one. And,
always a good one.
And again, if all else fails, Haley, you'll run a best of. Hey, Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and up next, Leya Hale. We'll be right back.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Teacher in a change. Join the St. Paul Urban Residency Program. Become a teacher in just 15 months. You can earn your master's degree and teaching license from the University of St. Thomas while earning a $30,000 stipend, single health care, and dental benefits. As an added bonus, next year's cohort, all residents will receive $20,000 towards their tuition. Apply now. Applications due February 28th, 2024. Visit spps.org/SUTR.
As we pack away the ornaments and bid farewell to the holiday season, it's time to unwrap the gift that keeps on giving, getting protected by a COVID-19 vaccination. This is your chance to make a difference, especially as our Native communities face higher COVID numbers. Those higher numbers underscore the need for collective action. So answer the call and get vaccinated. The latest vaccines are not just authorized, but they're proven effective against the current variants. This is extra protection, even if you've already had previous vaccines, since previous vaccines will eventually wear off. Plus, the new shots are FDA approved for ages 6 months and up. A COVID vaccine is not just a shot. It's a pledge to safeguard the wisdom and stories handed down by our elders. So join the movement, get vaccinated, and make 2024 the healthiest year ever, securing a brighter future for our Native community. For more information, including details about clinics offering free vaccines, visit vaccines.gov.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, I want to welcome back Leya Hale, producer director of the Electric Indian, and we are so excited to talk about Wednesday night. Welcome again.
Hi, thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you. And Haley says hi. Haley, who does all the work here as you're figuring out, Leah, that in our correspondence. Hey, I have a quick question before we get into the who, what, where. How did you come up with the name, the Electric Indian?
Yeah, that's a really fun story. So it was actually during one of our sit-down interviews for the film. I believe it was. I'm a little nervous right now because I'm forgetting the name, but it was Henry's Olympic hockey coach that actually, I want to say Murray Williamson.
Oh, Murray Warmath?
I'm so sorry. His name is I'm lost right now. I can't think of his name.
Murray Warmath.
It might have been, but I have a feeling it's Williamson. Murray Williamson. But anyhow, during Henry's past Olympic hockey coach, we asked if we could interview him to talk about Henry's time on the team. And when he referred to Henry, he said during his interview, we used to call Henry the Electric Indian. So it was actually during one of his during his interview that the title of the film came about, because he, just explained why they called him that and just really talked about his nickname. So it was his nickname.
Wow. Okay, cool. But back in the Olympics, when he won the silver medal for, I believe it was the 72 Olympic team.
Yes, it was 72.
And
the coach was Murray Williamson, by the way.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad I'm right.
And I was wrong. Good. There you go, Haley.
I'm glad I could help you out there, Leah.
Hey, so let's talk about what's coming up here the 31st at 7 p.m. There's a post-screening and conversation with director Leya Hale. Where's this going to be, and how can people get there? Is it sold out, or what's happening?
I'm not too sure if it's sold out, but if anyone's out there and they follow me on Facebook, they could definitely look on my Facebook page or go directly to the Minnesota Film Society. Also has a link to it, or they could just look up the theater. It's going to be held at the Main Cinema in Minneapolis. So if you Google search any of those, which is also another way into it, is the film screening is actually a part of the Great Northern Film Festival. So if you look up the Great Northern Festival online, that's another way that you could find your way to purchasing a ticket. So I haven't received any updates right now on how many are left, but it's definitely worth a try.
Absolutely. Hey, and there's a pre-reception at 6:30 before the 7 p.m. film, and then plus you will be in attendance with special guests to be a post-screening conversation. Oh, that sounds really good. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to make sure that some of or hopefully most of my film production team will show up, because I wanted to recognize them as well. After the film concludes, I wanted to take some time to, just talk a little bit about the role and, the effort it takes for a team to come together to do a production like this. So it would be a good opportunity if you're interested in film to get a listen on, just the behind the scenes skills that it takes to put a documentary together.
So this was all on 4K video, right? And edited on Adobe Premiere, or?
Yeah, this was edited in Adobe Premiere. We actually we edit with a low resolution because it gets difficult
Yeah.
having so much footage and editing it in 4K. So um, that's kind of like what my role is in the beginning. I'm not only the director and producer, but I'm also offline editor. So I'm the person that figures out the storylines and how they interweave with each other and bring it to a rough cut, and then finally hand it off to an online editor, which is definitely somebody skilled in color correction and motion graphics and those types of things.
But you get to look over their shoulder while they're editing, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's almost a time for me to start focusing on other aspects of the project as well. It's nice to kind of just hand it over to somebody and let them work their magic on it and utilize their talent and skills to enhance it even further.
That's what's exciting about. There was a film called The Usual Suspects years ago. It was one of my favorite films in the '90s, and there were two young guys, young in their 20s, that did that movie, and it was an awesome movie. And there was a character called Kaiser Soze in it, and nobody knew who it was. And the long story short is they had a veteran editor edit that film, and they really didn't know who Kaiser Soze was either at the end. Editing is a very powerful job.
Yeah, to me, I think that's where the story actually comes to life. It does take a lot of time to craft the story together, or else, it's just like home footage. So you really have to take time in figuring out, what the story you're going to tell, what themes that you want to come across, what moments are going to push the story forward. And there's just so many different elements you have to consider when crafting a story, so it does take a lot of time.
Yeah, his book, Henry Boucher Ojibwe, Native American Olympian, talks about the ups and downs of his life, especially after really getting his career taken away at such a young age. And he was such a great hockey player, to come out of the United States and then come out of Warroad and come out of Minnesota. It's a double-edged sword when you think about his story, because it is pretty sad, but it's also about, like you said in our last interview, resilience.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Really, I think when people first learn about this story, they're gonna think that we're gonna just learn about, which is true. A lot of the focus is on his hockey career, but really where the story really takes off is what he does once hockey was taken away from him. And to me, when you think about, all of us can relate to that. When you really work hard towards something and put your whole heart into it, and then if it gets taken away, is that incident going to make you or break you? Are you going to find, are you going to utilize whatever platform or whatever skill and talent that you are so excellent in? How are you going to utilize that to not only benefit, yourself and your family, but benefit a community and the larger community? So to me, I really, just like those ups and downs, and it's really relatable to everyone, all audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. In the last 10 years of his life, I got to meet him and hang out with him, and he was really big in the mascots, anti-mascot, and really brought in a lot of power because he was a name. He was able to open doors, interviews on places that normal Native Americans wouldn't be able to speak their truth, and he had a lot of credibility to use that in a good way in his last 10 years of his life.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was, a great advocate on many of our Native American issues that we face. And I think he was, a great storyteller at that as well. He was just, amazing at, utilizing his fame and his expertise and his access to a larger audience to really bring attention to many of the issues that we face still today.
Absolutely. Hey, we're here with director, producer, Leya Hale, and we're talking about The Electric Indian, a documentary about the late, great Henry Boucher here. And we are talking about also that there's going to be a reception at 6:30, and the film will be showed at 7, and there will be a conversation and questions afterwards. And we're really excited to talk about this. We only got a minute left, and I know you're really busy prepping up. Give us where it is again, and how to get tickets.
So it's going to be at the Main Cinema, which is in Minneapolis. I actually don't know the address off the top of my head right now, but you can look it up on by Google search by looking for the Main Cinema, which is also could be found through the Minneapolis Film Society, or you can also look up the Great Northern Film Festival and look at their showings, and you'll find the Electric Indian option on that page as well. The Great Northern Film Festival.
Yeah, it's across the river of the city there. If you're familiar with the Stone Arch Bridge, it's across the street there. It's awesome. Hey, congratulations. I'm going to be out of town, but Haley will be there representing Native Roots Radio, and I will be, and make sure I will be at the next showing. So Pinigigi, congratulations, and have a great evening tomorrow night.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We'll talk to you later. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID-19. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov.
Life can be hard. Sometimes it feels like there's no answers, like there's no way out. Hennepin County's COPE Mobile Crisis Response is here to listen and help you find a way through whatever is going on in your life. Call 612-596-1223 for no-cost crisis support anytime, anywhere in Hennepin County. That number is 612-596-1223.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Think your company's safe? Your staff is working from home, right?
As I speak, cyber criminals are mounting attacks across the country. Remember, when we're weakest, cyber criminals attack. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Leya. Cloudy tonight with a low of 33, then Wednesday, sunshine with a high of 56. The music is still the hottest at Crooner's Supper Club in Fridley. Crooner's is located just north of I-694 off Highway 65 and Moore Lake Drive. View their upcoming music schedules and food menus at croonersloungemn.com.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by JS Bean Factory in St. Paul. You can also order preferred coffee beans at JustStevesBeanFactory.com.
Who's Justine?
Just
wow.
Steve. I guess that's JS stands for Just Steve's.
Yes. I think it would. The story goes that there was 2 owners, and well, anyways, that's another show. Hey, we're gonna have Norma Flying Horse, aka Red Berry Woman, on, and she's an award-winning fashion designer. And some of the things that we're going to talk about is really quite interesting that's going on here, but it's a Louis Louis
Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton's Paris fashion show, and there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, and hopefully she'll come join us soon. But Haley, what do you know about this? It's pretty insane, and yet we talk about, we take a couple steps forward and then a couple steps back and then 3 forward, and this is what it seems like. And we talk about appropriation, and we talk about what happened in St. Paul, Minnesota with Walk On Teepee, and people really not knowing or paying attention to sacred grounds. And when you bead something or make something, whether it's art or jewelry, there's a prayer with every one of those strokes of the paintbrush or the bead that you put into something.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I think native fashion and native designs is not something to just throw around for anything. Just to add to your show and your collection, to say that you added something native, or I'm not really sure. But this whole situation was a little confusing to me. I'm still a little bit confused by it. I was trying to read some other articles kind of defending, I guess we can just go out and say it. This is Pharrell Williams.
Yeah.
He's that. Well, I know him by his music. I'm totally blanking on some of his songs. I know maybe that Happy song.
That's the only one
like,
I know.
Happy, clap along if you feel, or something.
Oh wow, Haley, you can sing.
Yeah, no. But yeah, Pharrell Williams, I guess, had his fall winter collection that came out in Paris Fashion Week. And added some, I think he was going for native appreciation, is one of the articles said, but I don't know. It looked pretty appropriated to me. From what I saw just right off the bat, I know it was all over social media. This was, I think, happening last week or so. And there was a lot of controversy around it. So Pharrell Williams kind of designed this whole Western America themed fashion show with,
right.
And he did include, I think it was 5 native designers that are pretty well known across Turtle Island.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it didn't sit well with me. It was we were like, they brought in music and drummers, a drum group, and we were like, who are these people? We weren't seeing names or anything. And then it was portraying the West. So like the Wild West, it almost looked like down south, Arizona, New Mexico. And I think some of the designs and designers, were definitely northern natives. And so it was confusing. It didn't really make sense with the designs.
Well, also Haley too, what he proclaimed, and again, I was a fan of his because I was happy when he did that song. But he did a whole line of cowboys, and he said the original cowboys were African American, and the designs too. And that's cool and all in cool. But appropriation is appropriation, and I think even though, we have our guest here. Hey,
Hi.
Hey,
we're
Norma.
stumbling, Norma. We need your help here. We're talking about
yeah?
appropriation in the fashion show, and now we got you in as the expert. Welcome to Native Roots Radio, and
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
and you are what is known as the Red Berry Woman, and I just want to say a big hello and a big peenie, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, I'm so excited. When my cousin Leah, she's like, you need to go on this podcast and visit with them about, everything we talk about, and so she reached out and she's like, there, it's done. You're going to be on the podcast now. She didn't even give me a chance to say anything. So she's like, you're going to go visit with these guys. So I was pretty excited when I got the email. I was like, yay, this is going to be, I'm really excited to be able to visit about this topic, because I feel like, especially right now with everything happening in Hollywood, it's really important that we have dialect and narrative to this so that people can try to understand why it is an issue, with a lot of us, especially those of us in the fashion community.
Hey, just want to give you a heads up. This is a national radio show, so it's not a podcast. So if you swear we can't edit it, we'll just have to beep you out. Oh, wow.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
I was just giving the background, Norma, of kind of the overview of Pharrell Williams' fashion show. And I don't know if you want to touch on that topic a little bit, but you might know a little bit more about me or about it than I do.
Well, I don't know about the show itself, like how it came to be. That was a little confusing, I think. And that's why people were having these mixed emotions about it, I guess. From what I saw when I watched the show, a lot of appropriation and a lot of perpetuation of stereotypes that we have tried to combat and to get rid of forever now, and in 25 minutes, he went and put almost every stereotype he could think of on this runway and called it fashion. Wow. And I'm just like, wow, what's happening here? And so,
25 minutes?
What's that?
I didn't know it was only a 25-minute show.
Well, I mean, it's probably longer than that, but I mean, it literally took him minutes to continue to these stereotypes. And I must say, I'm a little disappointed. I thought he would have learned since the Elle magazine cover, but obviously we're not visiting people. So the thing about it is, there was a lot of what I didn't understand was why there wasn't some appropriate PR done on this show. That right there to me was the disrespect of Pharrell and Louis Vuitton to Native Americans. That you literally did a show that is clearly, perpetuating stereotypes, and it clearly had no influence from the Native people that you had part of the show. And so, I've been in powwow my entire life. I've danced my entire life. My children dance. My grandfathers are the Mandaree singers, and they're legends. So I know what I'm talking about when I say that they flew so many natives over there they're spectacular dancers. They are the best of the best singers, dancers. Every one of those people that I either know personally or I know their family, I know them. So these are respectable people within our community, that they're not dancers and performers. They're people who are into the culture that they, that we're trying to keep alive. These are the people. He had so much knowledge and so much talent and so much everything when it came to our people on that runway, and he failed. He failed at doing us justice. And in fact, he did us a big injustice. So the whole thing was just, it took me a few days to kind of like really get, like, because I wanted to do my research, which I looked at, and there wasn't a lot that talked about this show. And here's the other thing was, well, I got one interview sent to me. And in that interview, Pharrell was after the show. Pharrell says that he's honoring the Cowboys, Cowboys. So he wasn't really even honoring us. This was not a show to honor the Lakota. This was a show to honor what he thought were Cowboys. And so that's fine. That's fine. Honor the Cowboys. Show that they were people of color. Go ahead and show that. That's perfectly fine. Why did you need to have us in the background to honor that, to tell them? Why was no one at that table when Pharrell said, hey, let's put on a fashion show that honors the Cowboys, and in the background, we're going to have Native Americans, because, no one's ever done that narrative. So let's do that. There should have been somebody at that table and been like, Mr. Pharrell, okay, let me remind you about the Elle magazine cover.
Right.
Come on. Why weren't there any creative heads at that table saying, you know what? That is a horrible idea. Horrible. If you're going to honor Cowboys, leave the Indians out of it. Leave the indigenous people out of it, because we don't want to be Cowboys and Indians anymore. And the fact that you're standing here saying that, oh, and we have the Dakota and Lakota here. As what? As what?
Right.
What were they doing?
Right.
What were we doing? The minute he said Dakota, that was it. My big mouth started running.
Yeah.
My big mouth started going.
Exactly.
And I'm not mad at any indigenous person. I'm not upset with any one of those people. In fact, I feel like they were used. I feel like Pharrell owes us an apology, and we should get one.
Yeah. It looked like a lot of representation, or what he was trying to go for was, some of the Southern Native tribes. I mean, you could have included them a bit more, but it was a lot of,
No, that was the first stereotype. Yep. You're trying to say you're honoring, or you're acknowledging the Dakota and the Lakota. In fact, they had artists, Josie and her husband, Josie and Trey, do these beautiful bags, beyond beautiful. Why were those not the show? Why were all those dancers that you flew over there, why weren't they in outfits and dancing? We just need proper representation. I really feel like this wasn't it. This was so far from it.
Norma, can you hold on for a break here? We got a commercial break coming up, and then the end of the show. Right on. Hey, we're with Norma Baker Flying Horse, and we're talking about this past show. And again, we're talking about appropriation here on Native Roots Radio. So, hey, the stories, the names have changed, but the faces remain the same. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Hey, if you're like a lot of people, you're probably relieved that the holiday celebrations are over. But there's one thing that might stay with us from the holidays besides all those gifts, and that's COVID-19. Numbers from COVID are going up as we spend more time inside. And Native Americans are seeing even bigger case spikes. With all the indoor celebrations over the holidays, you may have unknowingly been exposed to someone with COVID-19. That's why it's important to stay vigilant. If you notice any symptoms like a fever, a tickle in the throat, or heavy fatigue, take an at-home test. They're still free and can be ordered at sayyeshometest.org. If you do test positive, you're eligible for free treatment, and no health insurance is required. Visit health.state.mn.us to connect with providers and receive your treatment. Let's make 2024 the healthiest year ever, securing a brighter future for our Native community.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Well, we have our guest here, Norma, and Norma, we usually howl. So next time you're on, Norma Baker, a Flying Horse, designer of Red Berry, woman owner. And also, I just want to say, because you jumped in kind of the middle of last segment, it's like you're the first contemporary Native American fashion designer to have a gown worn at the Oscars. You're also 2020 International Designer of the Year. And I just want to give you some cred here when we get back into this. I learned this on TikTok, I hate to tell you, and this person showed all these pictures and the bags and the natives in the background, and then also it looked like there's native designs on the chaps, and if you want to remind our audience too about Pharrell and the headdress on the cover.
He did the cover in 2015, and it was a non-eagle headdress. It was fake feathers, and it was, I think, to me, honestly, at this point, it was really kind of one of those, like, we've had enough. This is it. Like, this, we've had enough. This is enough, like, perpetuating these stereotypes. This is enough appropriating our culture. This is enough spreading misconception about who and what we are, and especially with items that we find sacred. And that headdress was not a real headdress, but that is the whole point, is that you can't sit and say, but it's not real. No, because what you're trying to do is mimic what you think is a Native American symbol. And although it is a symbol in some ways to a lot of people for strength and whatnot, to the indigenous people of this land, each one of our tribes, we handle that bonnet differently. In my Hidatsa side, we are people of the war bonnet. It's custom for our women to wear them. It's custom for us to wear them when we're being honored, but we immediately give them away once we are done being honored with them. But on my Dakota side, when we are given a war bonnet, that stays and remains within a family. It's passed down generations. And so if you ever received a war bonnet, it was because of the accolades that they wanted to honor that you had performed, however that may be. Today, it's education. Today, it's, a position on the powwow committee, or, things like that. A basketball tournament, we honor our young people with these things. So the things that we hold sacred are, everyone thinks everything about us is mystical and magical. And we were, like when we had a problem, we summon the spirits, and that's the kind of stuff that, for me, growing up an Army brat, I literally had people questioning me, oh, what is it that you can do? Do you ride a horse? Do you live in a teepee? Like things like that. And it's like, there's so much misconception, and even down to the way we look. I mean, I'm pretty, white passing. Then I start talking, and then people are like, "Oh no, she's Native." Then I start talking like the auntie, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she's Indian." So, You know, so it's like growing up, I always knew that I could pass for a white person. And it was easier for me to get through doors than it was for a lot of the people that I was related to and that I came from and that I grew up with. You know, I've seen people go through racism. Right now, my husband's going through that with the medical facility. You know, he's being mistreated, and I believe it's because of his race. But I've never been the type to yell the racism card because I myself have never experienced it in a manner which I feel I can, you know, complain about it, I guess. But I do acknowledge it. I do acknowledge that these things are happening. And the reason my point is that when we have appropriation happening on runways, when we have appropriation happening on Halloween, when we have appropriation happening because somebody wants to look cute for a party in Hollywood, what that does is not only perpetuate the stereotypes that Hollywood has put out there from the beginning of time, but it also puts a lot of what we hold sacred in danger of being lost for the next generations. And the thing is, what people need to realize is we're not fighting for ourselves. We're not fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the generations after us. That's why it's important for us to speak on these types of things. And it really bothers me when someone has an opinion like this. You know, it may be an opinion, but it's also fact. You are appropriating tribes when you are saying, you know, anytime that someone has something to say about it, it's like they get shut down because, oh, you're stopping us from, you know, celebrating the culture. I don't got no problem with people celebrating my culture. Just celebrate it right. That's all I'm saying. Like,
well,
I have no problem with that.
It's the old get over it, you know. We're celebrating you, and you know we've dealt with that. Now we have the Chiefs and the 49ers in a Super Bowl, where both of those names have been very disruptive and destructive for Native Americans for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. I have a quick question to ask you. There is a fashion show in New York in about 2 weeks. Are you involved with that at all?
There are so many fashion shows. I'm not. The next one I have coming up is actually for the Reservation Economic Summit, RES. I'm actually headlining the fashion show there in March 11th. So, and I do believe you have to be an attendee. No, this one is in Vegas, Las Vegas. And you do have to be an attendee of the conference in order to attend the show because it is made for people who have paid to be at the conference. But I mean, it's those types of shows it's really important that we have people speaking their narrative clearly. So there are 4 designers on a runway with this show. Let's use us as an example. One of us is Dakota, one of us is Lakota, one of us is Crow, and one of us is Hidatsa, or more than one. You know, but what I'm saying is we're all from different tribes. And so for me, when I started Red Berry Woman, my mission was to educate and to try to stop these stereotypes that we have that are they're detrimental to us as a people, and they're detrimental to you know, the people like women, the MMIW. It perpetuates, you know, and it perpetuates the stereotype that we are all up for grabs sexually, you know. So I mean, that is the reason these types of things are upsetting. You know, we're all different, and I just don't understand how people are not how some people do not understand that when you say you're going to represent a certain tribe, then represent that tribe. Saying your honor, you have the Lakota and Dakota people there, you know, as what? Background? Were they background for this? Because you just minimize them all to a denim outfit. Oh, God. I just don't. I mean, I had people writing to me saying, hey, this is the vibe I got. And they were sending pictures of the boarding school kids in their denim outfits.
Wow.
So, I mean, there were triggers happening with this show. I mean, and like I said, I was never upset with one Indigenous person who was involved. In fact, I'm angry for them because they should have been the show. Otherwise, leave us alone. Leave us alone.
Norma Baker, Flying Horse, Peony Gigi, thank you so much for coming on. You can check out your stuff on Redberry Woman and is .com and Facebook. Thank you so much. We got to have you on, maybe a whole show, because I thought I had a lot of good stuff to say. Peony Gigi, thank you for coming on.
All right. Thanks, guys. I sure appreciate it.
Right on. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground in which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier. Now.
I'm having a really hard time lately, and I'm worried no one will understand what I'm going through.